A pleasant day, everyone! We are the Group 5 from BSIE 4B, and for today's video, we are going to discuss the Unit 12 and Unit 13. I am Giancarlo M. Bautista, together with my group mates, Ma'am Rowena Canlas, Ma'am Mario Judy Ann Mendoza, Ma'am Jarina K. Aliado, and Ma'am Rachel Marcelo. Unit 12, Global Migration. This unit is designed to inform you about the human population transition over the past 3 centuries and the main physical and geographic playground of the globalizing process. In this space of population, concentration and mixing, the global flows of people, capital and ideas are woven into the daily life experience of each residents. Learning objectives. At the end of the unit, I am able to analyze the political, economic, cultural, and social factors underlying the global movements of people and displays first-hand knowledge of the experience of OFWs.
Migration. According to our migration story, the making of Britain defines migration in the same way as the first entry on the world in the Oxford English Dictionary. Migration. A. The movement of person or people from one country, locality, place of residence, etc. to settle in another. An instance of this. Migration is first and foremost a normal human activity. Human beings have always moved from one country, locality, and place of residence to settle in another. We tend to migrate from the homes of our families or guardians into our homes. We migrate between regions, sites, and towns, and we also migrate between countries. Further, Erin Blakemore, 2019, emphasizes migration is defined as movement from one country, place, or locality to another. Ever since the earliest humans began to spread from Africa, humans have been on the move. Even today, 3% of the world's population, at least 258 million people, live outside of their country of origin. Whether voluntary or forced, migration has profoundly shaped our world. So, what are the 2 types of migration? Internal migration. This refers to a change of residence within national boundaries, such as between states, province, cities, or municipalities. An internal migrant is someone who moves to a different administrative territory. For example, when someone moves from one section of a country to another, usually for economic reason. The most notable example of internal migration has been the movement from rural regions to cities. International. This refers to the movement of person away from their place of usual residence and across international boundaries. An international migrant is someone who moves to a different country. The causes of international migration are some people move in search of work or economic opportunities to join family or to study. Others move to escape conflict, persecution, terrorism, or human rights violations. Still, others move in response to the adverse effects of climate change, natural disasters, or other environmental factors.
How are international migrants categorized? Number 1, temporary labor migrant, also known as a guest speaker or overseas contract workers. These are the people who migrate for a limited period of time in order to take up employment and send money home. So dito sa temporary labor migrant ay hindi nagtatagal yung tao dun sa lugar na pupuntahan niya. It's because possible na meron lang siya pupuntahan na seminar or may contract lang yung trabaho niya doon. Number 2, highly skilled and business migrant. These are the people with a professional qualification who can move within the internal labor markets of transnational corporations and international organizations. Those who seek employment through international labor markets for scarce skills are also considered on this classification of migrants. Number 3 is the irregular migration. also known as undocumented or illegal migrants. These are people who enter a country usually in search of employment without the necessary documents and permit. So, dito naman sa irregular migration, from the word itself is irregular, so hindi siya legal. And ito yung mga tao na pumapasok sa isang bansa na wala namang sapat na documents at permits. Number 4 is the forced migration. This includes not only refuge and asylum seekers, but also people forced to move due to internal factors such as environmental catastrophes or development projects. This form of migration has similar characteristic to displacement. So dito naman sa forced migration is sa pilitang pag-migrate. So dito ay ang most recent nito ay environmental catastrophe or development projects. Number 5 is the family members, also known as a family reunion or family reunification migrants. These are people sharing family ties, joining relatives who have already entered an immigration's country under one of the above mentioned categories. So dito sa family members is kaya ka magmamigrate dahil sa pamilya mo na nakatira na doon sa lugar na yon. So dahil sa kanila kaya ka pupunta doon. So number 6 is the returned migrants. These are people who return to their countries of origin after living in another country for some time. So dito naman sa returned migrants is babalik ka kung saan ka nanggaling. Why do people migrate? People migrate for many different reasons. These reasons can be classified as economic, social, political, or environmental. So, economic factors. Moving to find the work or follow a particular career path. So, dito ay sa economic factors natin is pwede kaya ka nag-migrate kasi nandun sa yung opportunity mo sa ibang bansa. Mas nakikita mo yung sarili mo na doon mo maaabot yung pangarap mo or mas ma-enhance mo yung career mo doon. So, next is the social factors. Moving somewhere for a better quality life or to be closer to a family or friends. So, dito sa social factors is kaya ka magmamigrate sa lugar na yon is to make a better life or mas makasama mo yung pamilya mo or friends mo. So, dito next naman is political factors. Moving to escape political persecution or war. So, dito naman sa political factors is magmumove ka because of political persecution or a war. So, dito naman sa environmental factors include the natural disaster such as flooding. So, dito is pumapasok ang ating mga disasters. Kaya ka magmamigrate. Dito yun sa mga environmental factors. So, some people choose to migrate as someone who moves to another country to enhance their career opportunities. Some people are forced to migrate, someone who moves due to war or famine.
In this unit, we will tackle the sustainable development. On the overview, this unit will help you to understand how sustainability and stability work in our society and world today. This chapter also discusses the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This will help you to understand what are the pressing issues in our society today and what are the best solutions you can create to solve them. In the learning objective, at the end of the unit, I am able to first understand the genuine meaning of sustainable development and its importance to globalization and clearly provide distinction with stability. The second one is to adapt the challenges of the community from which we belong and be able to identify action that could contribute to such sustainable development. And lastly, realize the importance of sustainable development in relation to other development as that of SDG. Lesson proper. The word rich society was first coined by Beck 1986, asserting that the reason for the current problem has been the inability of modern society to produce enough stability and sustainability. clearly there is a distinction between the two that need to be clarified. Stability is defined as the idea that can be demonstrated by the practices of a conventional commodity market, in which supply and demand interact to determine both price and quantity traded. So let's move on to economic stability. Economic stability refers to an absence of much fluctuation in the economy. An economy with constant output growth and low and stable price inflation is likely to be regarded as stable. So, the main cause of economic stability include fluctuation in the stock market, changes in the interest rate, fall in home prices, and black swan event. The three main impacts of economic stability include business cycle, inflation, and unemployment. So, as a result of economic stability, economics tend to characterize an economically stable region as one, which has consistent real GDP growth, low unemployment, and high personal income level. So, the importance of economic stability means that people have the resources essential to a healthy life. Factors affecting economic stability include affordable housing, employment that provides a living wage, things that support employment, or like worker protection, paid sick leave and childcare, and access to reliable transportation. So, let's proceed to the sustainability. So, when we talk about sustainability, is defined as the process and the way through which humankind avoid the extinction of natural resources, which is organized by the way society are organized to keep an ecological balance so that society and quality of the life doesn't decrease. So, sustainability consists of fulfilling the need of current generation without compromising the need of future generation while ensuring a balance between economic growth and environmental care and social well-being. So, yung pagkapanatili po at ay binubuo ng pagtupad sa mga pangangailangan ng mga kasalukuyang henerasyon nang hindi nagkakompromiso or ang mga pangangailangan ng susunod na henerasyon abang tinitiyak na balanse yung pagitan ng paglago ng ekonomiya at pangangalaga sa ating kapaligiran. So, the importance of sustainability for the country development, people around the world depend greatly on the natural environment. So, for their health and livelihood, especially people in developing country, a healthy environment supply the necessary of life like water, food, air. It is also provide resources for economic growth and the means to fight natural hazard. So, let's proceed to the economic sustainability. When we talk about economic sustainability, it's a joint part of sustainability and means that we must use, safeguard, and sustain resources and human and materials to create a long-term sustainable value by optimal use and recovery and recycling. So, ang isang mga pinagsamang bahagi ng sustainability ay nangangahulugan na dapat nating gamitin o pangalagaan at panatiliin ng mga mapagkukunang yaman katulad ng mga likas na material upang lumika ng pangmatagalang sustainable value sa pamamagitan ng paggamit or pagbawi or pagre-recycle nito. So yun nga, when we talk about economic sustainability, it refers to practice and support long-term economic growth without negatively impacting social, environmental, and cultural aspect of the community. So why economic sustainability is important? It is important for a business because it cannot be achieved a long-term growth if it use natural or human resources. So kapag po masyado nating inabuso yung mga human resources is tayo din po yung maapektuhan or magkakaroon po tayo ng kakulangan or mga yun nga kakulangan sa mga likas na yaman ng ating country or ng ating economy. So let's proceed to the sustainable development. The term sustainable development first came to note in the World Conservation Strategy or WCS in 1980. It achieved a new status with the publication of two significant reports by Bratland on North and South. So, a program for survival and a common crisis on 1985, our common future on 1983, and has gained even greater attention since the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development or UNCID held in Rio de Janeiro in June 1992. So, development is a generally development is the gradual growth of a situation that become more advanced and strong than the previous one. Development is intended to bring a positive change for a human being and their surrounding. And lastly, development may take place as a bringing about a change in a policy, project, and legislation. So, sa pangkalahatan, ang pagunlad ay ang unting-unting paglago ng isang sitwasyon na nagiging mas advanced kaysa sa kasalukuyan o sa mga nauna. So, ang pagunlad ay naglalayong magdala ng positibong pagbabago sa tao at sa kanilang kapaligiran. So, maaaring magganap ang pagunlad sa pamamagitan ng pagdadala ng mga pagbabago sa patakaran o mga proyekto at batas. So, sustainable development is a pattern of resource use that aim to meet a human needs while preserving the environment so that this need can be met not only in the present but also for the future generation. So, according to Bratland, sustainable development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the future generation to meet their own needs. Bratland is a concept of sustainable development emphasize the link between development and environmental problem and to promote nationally and globally to tackle the problem. So, ang sustainable development ay isang pattern na ginagamit upang mapagkukunan at naglalayong matugunan ang mga pangangailangan ng tao na habang pinangangalagaan ng tao ang kapaligiran upang ang mga pangangailangan ito ay matugunan hindi lamang sa kasalukuyan kundi na rin pati na rin sa future na henerasyon. So, ayon nga kay Bratland, sinasabi niya na upang mapanatili natin yung pagunlad ay dapat din nating pangalagaan yung mga pinagkukunan natin ng likas na mga material na ginagamit natin upang matugunan ng ating pangangailangan sa kasalukuyan. Upang sa mga susunod na mga henerasyon ay meron pang mga mapagkukunang mga likas na o mga material na nagagamitin o kakailanganin din ng ating future na generasyon.
What are the Sustainable Development Goals? The Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the Global Goals, were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030 all people enjoy peace and prosperity. The 17 SDGs are integrated. They recognize that action in one area will affect outcomes in others, and that development must balance social, economic, and environmental sustainability. The SDGs are designed to end poverty, hunger, AIDS, and discrimination against women and girls. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And here are the 7 SDGs, and the goal number 1 is no poverty. Goal number 1, end poverty in all its forms everywhere. In signing Agenda 2030, governments around the world committed to ending poverty in all its manifestations, including its most extreme forms. Over the next 15 years, they resolved that all people everywhere should enjoy a basic standard of living. This includes social protections, benefits for the poor and most vulnerable, and ensuring that people harmed by conflict and natural hazards receive adequate support, including access to basic services. And the second one is Goal 2, Zero Hunger. Goal number 2, end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition, and improve sustainable agriculture.
Goal 2 seeks sustainable solutions to end hunger in all its forms by 2030 and to achieve food security. The aim is to ensure that everyone, everywhere, has enough good quality food to lead a healthy life. Achieving this goal will require better access to food and the widespread promotion of sustainable agriculture. And the third one is Goal 3. Good health and well-being. We have made great progress against several leading causes of death and disease. Goal 3 seeks to ensure health and well-being for all at every stage of life. The aim is to improve reproductive and maternal and child health and the epidemics of HIV/AIDS, malaria, tuberculosis, and neglected tropical diseases. Reduce non-communicable and environmental disease, achieving universal health coverage and ensure universal access to safe, affordable, and effective medicines and vaccines. Towards that end, world leaders committed to support research and development, increase health financing, and strengthen the capacity of all countries to reduce and manage health risks. Next is the goal number 4. Quality education. Goal number 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong opportunities for all. Goal number 4 aims to ensure that all people have access to quality education and lifelong learning opportunities. The goal focuses on the acquisition of foundational and higher order skills at all stages of education and development, greater and more equitable access to quality education at all levels as well as technical and vocational education and training, and the knowledge, skills, and values needed to function well and contribute to society. And the next one is goal number 5, gender equality. This means eliminating all forms of discrimination and violence against them, including violence by intimate partners, sexual violence, and harmful practices such as child marriage and female genital mutilation, ensuring that women have better access to paid employment, sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights, and real decision-making power in public and private spheres will further ensure that development is equitable and sustainable. Next is goal number 6, clean water and sanitation. Goal number 6 is ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Sustainable Development Goal 6 goes beyond drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene to also address the quality and sustainability of water resources, critical to the survival of people and the planet. The 2030 Agenda recognizes the centrality of water resources to sustainable development and the vital role that improved drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene play in progress in other areas, including health, education, and poverty reduction. Next is the goal number 7. Affordable and clean energy. Goal number 7, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy is crucial to achieving many of the Sustainable Development Goals, from poverty eradication via advancement in health, education, water supply, and industrialization to mitigating climate change. Energy access, however, varies widely across countries, and the current rate of progress falls short of what will be required to achieve the goal. Redoubled efforts will be needed, particularly for countries with large energy access deficits and high energy consumption. Next is the goal number 8, decent work and economic growth. Goal number 8 promotes sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth for all and productive employment and decent work for all. Sustained and inclusive economic growth is prerequisite for sustainable development, which can contribute to improved livelihoods for people around the world. Economic growth can lead to new and better employment opportunities and provide a greater economic security for all. Moreover, rapid growth, especially among the least developed and other developing countries, can help them reduce the wage gap related to developed countries, thereby diminishing glaring inequalities between the rich and poor. And next is the goal number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Goal number 9, build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. Sustainable development goal number 9 addresses 3 important aspects of sustainable development. First one is the infrastructure, the second one is industrialization, and the third one is innovation. Infrastructure provides the basic physical facilities essential to business and society. Industrialization drives economic growth and job creation, thereby reducing inequality, and innovation expands the technological capabilities of industrial sectors and leads to the development of new skills. The next one is the goal number 10, reduce inequalities. Goal number 10, reduce inequality within and among countries. Goal number 10 calls for reducing inequalities in income as well as those based on sex, age, disability, race, class, ethnicity, religion, and opportunity. Both within and among countries, world leaders recognize the positive contribution of international migration to inclusive growth and sustainable development, while acknowledging that it demands coherent and comprehensive responses. Accordingly, they committed to cooperate internationally to ensure safe, orderly, and regular migration. The goal also addresses issues related to representation and development assistance. Next is the goal number 11, sustainable cities and communities. Goal 11, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Today, more than half the world's population lives in cities. By 2030, it is projected that 6 in 10 people will be urban dwellers. Despite numerous planning challenges, cities offer more efficient economies of scale on many levels, including the provision of goods, services, and transportation with sound, risk-informed planning and management. Cities can become incubators for innovation and growth and drivers of sustainable development. And next is the goal number 12, responsible consumption and production. Goal number 12 ensures sustainable consumption and production patterns. Sustainable growth and development requires minimize the natural resources and toxic materials used, and the waste and pollutant generated throughout the entire production and consumption process. Sustainable development goal number 12 encourages more sustainable consumption and production patterns through various measures, including specific policies and international agreements on the management of materials that are toxic to the environment. Next is the goal number 13, climate action. Goal number 13, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Climate change presents the single biggest threat to development, and its widespread, unprecedented effects disproportionately burden the poorest and the most vulnerable. Goal number 13 calls for urgent action not only to combat climate change and its impacts, but also to build resilience in responding to climate-related hazards and natural disasters. Next is the goal number 14, life below water. Goal number 14, conserve and sustainable use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. Oceans, seas, and other marine resources are essential to human well-being and social and economic development worldwide. Their conservation and sustainable use are central to achieving the 2030 Agenda, especially for small island developing states. Marine resources are particularly important for people living in coastal communities, who represented 37% of the world population in 2010. Oceans provide livelihoods, subsistence, and benefits from fisheries, tourism, and other sectors. They also help regulate the global ecosystem by absorbing heat and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. However, oceans and coastal areas are extremely vulnerable to environmental degradation, overfishing, climate change, and population. Next is the number 15, life on land. Goal number 15, protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and reverse land degradation, and halt biodiversity loss. Preserving diverse forms of life on land requires targeted efforts to protect, restore, and promote the conservation and sustainable use of terrestrial and other ecosystems. Goal number 15 focuses specifically on managing forests sustainably, halting and reserving land and natural habitat degradation, successfully combating desertification and stopping biodiversity loss. All these efforts combined aim to ensure that the benefits of land-based ecosystem, including sustainable livelihoods, will be enjoyed for generations to come. Next is the goal number 16. Peace, justice, and strong institutions. Goal number 16, promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development. Provide access to justice for all and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. Central to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is the need to promote peaceful and inclusive societies based on respect for human rights, the rule of law, and transparent, effective, and accountable institutions. A number of regions have enjoyed an increase in sustained levels of peace and security in recent decades. And the last one is the goal number 17. Partnerships for the goals. Goal number 17 is strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnerships of sustainable development. Achieving the ambitious targets of the 2030 Agenda requires a revitalized and enhanced global partnerships that brings together governments, civil society, and private sector, the United Nations system, and other actors. Mobilizing all available resources, meeting implementation targets, including the raising of necessary funds, is key to realizing the agenda. Increasing support to developing countries, in particular the least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, and small island developing states, is fundamental to equitable progress for all. The SDGs aim to end all forms of hunger and malnutrition by 2030, making sure all people, especially children, have sufficient and nutritious food all year. This involves promoting sustainable agricultural, supporting small-scale farmers, and equal access to land, technology, and markets. Today, the Division for Sustainable Development Goals in the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs provides substantive support and capacity building for the SDGs and the related thematic issues, including water, energy, climate, oceans, urbanization, transport, science, and technology. The Global Sustainable Development Report, Partnerships and Small Island Developing States, the DSDG plays a key role in the evaluation of UN system-wide implementation of the 2030 Agenda and on advocacy and outreach activities relating to the SDGs. And committing to the realization of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, member states recognize that the dignity of the individual is fundamental and that the agenda's goal and targets should be met for all nations and people and for all segments of society. Furthermore, they endeavored to reach first those who are furthest behind.
Let's talk about now the pillars of sustainability. Generally, there is a common thread across these definitions, and that is the presence of three pillars of sustainability. And these are the environment, society, and the economy. Number one, we have the environmental sustainability. It is being mindful that the world's natural resources, such as energy fuels, water, plants, and animals are limited. It is being conscious to use natural resources at a rate that don't get depleted, doesn't get damaged, or get extinct. What is the importance of environmental sustainability? We cannot maintain our Earth ecosystem or continue to function as we do if more sustainable choices are not made. If harmful processes are maintained with no change, it's likely that we will run out of fossil fuels. Huge members of animal species will become extinct, and the atmosphere will be irreparably damaged. Number two, we have economic sustainability. It means that countries and business must use their resources efficiently and responsibly. If countries and companies will not use their resources efficiently, and if they don't act responsibly, then they will not be able to sustain their own activities in the long term. Why this sustainability is important? Economic sustainability is important for a business because it cannot achieve long-term growth if it exhausts natural or human resources. The last, we have social sustainability. It is the ability of society or any social system to presently achieve a good social well-being. This ensures that the social well-being of a country, an organization, or community can be maintained in the long term. In addition, social sustainability is also about expanding opportunities for all people today and tomorrow. Together with economic and environmental sustainability, it is critical for poverty reduction and shape prosperity. Let's proceed now to models of sustainable development. There are different views on how the three pillars are interlinked. This gave rise to different models of sustainable development. Number one, we have the three legs stool model. The three legs are required for sustainability. If one leg is weak, the whole system gets weak. It implies that the three legs operate independently and are equal in contribution. In addition, social security benefits were said to be one leg of the three-leg stool consisting of social security, private pensions, and saving as investment. The metaphor was intended to convey the idea that all three approaches were need to provide stable income security in retirement. Overlapping circle model. This model acknowledges the intersection and the interdependence of the three pillars. It is in the area of intersection of the three pillars where sustainability lies. This also implies that there are certain segments of each pillar that are independent of the others. Parts of the circles that do not overlap. The size of the circles can be adjusted if one pillar has greater influence over the other two pillars. In addition, a Venn diagram uses overlapping circle to illustrate the similarities, differences, and relationship between concepts, ideas, categories, or groups. Similarities between groups are represented in the overlapping portion of the circles, while differences are represented in the non-overlapping portion of the circles. The last is nested dependencies model. In this model, the three pillars coexist and are interdependent. This tackle the well-being of the total system is achieved only if the well-being of each subsystem is achieved. This implies the symbolic relationship of the economy, society, and social environment. This also implies that society has to live with the carrying capacity of the environment. In addition, this model reflects that interdependency of the three factors. It shows that human society is a sustainability of the environment as humans need water, air, and other natural resources for their survival. So that's all for today. Thank you very much and God bless us all.